It was right on 6 o'clock, folks. We want to welcome you to the regularly scheduled Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency meeting. It's June 9th, 2025, and we want to welcome everybody. We will ask Christina to take roll, please.
Commissioner Porter?
Here.
Commissioner Warwick?
Here.
Commissioner Brooks? Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Commissioner Doty?
Here.
Commissioner Allgood?
Here.
Commissioner Cole?
Here. Very good. Thanks, everybody. We have a special presentation to lead off with this evening, a presentation by Mr. Waite regarding the feasibility study for the site-specific area. Mr. Waite, welcome.
Having been on urban renewal a few years, I understand the value of it, and I really appreciate your time here tonight. So you have in front of you, you've been passed out, you have in front of you a brief document that describes what I did and what numbers I crunched. The information, for the most part, came from the county assessor. All of the property tax information, the levy rates, even the values on the project once it's completed came from him and his investigation of the information that was provided by the developer. I also received information from the developer that was very helpful. So I'm going to take you right to page 3. This project, from my understanding, consists of 2 vacant residential lots identified as 405 North 5th Avenue and 507 East Chicago Street. The developer plans to build condominium housing consisting of 2 condos, covered parking, and 5 cottage-style residential dwellings intended to be sold as owner-occupied dwellings. Covered parking will be designated for and allocated to each dwelling. Each dwelling square footage will be similar to apartment square footage. Condos will have 3 bedrooms and 2 baths at 1,250 square feet. Cottages will have 2 bedrooms, 2 baths at 900 square feet. This concept presents a shift from tenant-leased apartments to traditional owner mortgages. This development plan provides another method for Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency to redevelop deteriorated areas in old subdivisions, increase population density with owner-occupied dwellings instead of apartment leases, update old or inadequate infrastructure through tax income financing, and provide revenue for other Caldwell Urban Renewal Area Agency projects. So these first 2 figures, well, actually all the figures are designed to lead into the feasibility report and give us a base from which the calculations are prepared. The figures 1A and 1B are 1A is the current assessed value, taxable assessed value of these 2 lots at $180,700. The figure 1B is the estimated value from the assessor of 2 condo dwellings and 5 cottages, and it has the homeowner's exemption in it also. So this provides an owner-occupied dwelling. So that's 1A and 1B. If you turn the page, figures 2A and 2B. These are the categories of the taxing districts as required by law and their associated levy rate. So the Ambulance District, Caldwell School District, Canyon County, Canyon Highway District 4, City of Caldwell, College of Western Idaho, and the Mosquito Abatement District, showing the total levy rate there, and then the increment levy rate for those districts that are not exempt from any tax increment financing. You have a few that could be based on what happens with the Commission's decision when they request exemption. Figure 2B is the tax exempt by statute taxing districts, and then those that are eligible for increment, showing those 2 levy rates. If you go to the next page, figures 3A are also provided by the assessor as the current property tax collections from all of those taxing districts from those 2 parcels, $1,111. That's the base increment or the base property tax that will continue to go to those taxing districts. Figure 3B is the you are a build-out increment value of those non-exempt taxing districts, and that yields at a value of $2,234,200 taxable value, $12,097 a year. If you turn the page, the next figure, figure 4, is the exempt build-out increment value. So these three areas, the ambulance district, the highway district number 4, and the Caldwell School District, would have a total of $1,638 increase for their levy rates. This does not include the major levy rate for the for the school district, because it was not provided by the county assessor. Those will continue no matter what. It's not part of urban renewal. But this is the increase for all of those three. Then all levy base increment value at 2044 is $13,735. That's how much it would increase from the $1,111. Now, the very bottom one, when you had a presentation from the developer, he used a levy rate of 1.5%, which used to be pretty close to what it was years and years ago, but the values have gone up substantially, the levy rates have gone down, and so now you're looking at a levy rate from the assessor estimate of 0.006, and 0.015 was used by the developer. So he presented to you that you'd probably have a 7 to 10 year payout, urban renewal time, increment financing time, at $34,500 a year. The reality is that it's most likely going to come in at $13,735 in that neighborhood, based on a 0.006 assessor estimated levy rate. So those are the figures. Are there any questions on any of the figures?
Thank you,
Any of
Mr.
the
Wade.
information there.
Questions? Mr. Moore?
So that 13,000 number you're saying, that would come back to the URA in how many years?
So
10? Is that right?
yeah, so if you turn to the very last page,
Yeah.
this is the revenue model, and in the third to the last column is information from the previous figure. It's 12,097. That's without the exempt property, the taxing districts in it. That's how much is coming to urban renewal year by year, and it starts in 2027 tax collections. So it's going to be 18 years. It took 20 years of increment financing in order to get to the $175,000 that is being requested for reimbursement for the infrastructure. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Moore?
So a long time no see, LJ, so I appreciate you coming in here and doing this for us. I guess I got a question. I know this isn't your first rodeo to this kind of thing, but how are you able to turn this out so fast and at such a advantage cost to the taxpayers here in Caldwell?
This was my life for 14 years, 20 years with the city and 14 in urban renewal, and this was the model. What I have to give Ray Lynn credit. She gave me what I presented for the Caldwell North Urban Renewal Agency, so most of the work was already done as far as the format. I just had to chase the numbers down. So, but this is what it would be. It should be a relatively simple process when you get these single or just smaller area urban renewal projects. It shouldn't take much to do it, and I'd be more than happy to assist in the future too. It's not a problem.
Thank you. Another question. The idea of these spot urban renewals, how do you feel about that?
And what was the spot?
Spot urban renewals, spot specific, area specific.
I was hoping when I was finance director that there would be money allocated to urban renewal from the increment that came back into the city for those specific kinds of projects, that you would get funding from what you created in that first go-around, which was considerable. And then you could focus on those areas within the city that are not in the city limits yet, and other smaller single areas. And this is a prime example. I mean, I saw this and thought that if that's what urban renewal can do and that's what the city wants, this is a great way to do it.
You think there's more, opportunity like that down there on the other side of the tracks?
I agree. I believe so. Wherever, well, this created $2.2 million worth of assessed value, or taxable value.
Yeah.
On what was there before, maybe $1 million with, maybe, but probably not,
Yeah,
with the build out on the properties.
yeah.
So, and it gives ownership to the families, which they take better care of things when they're not renting it.
Yeah, good point.
So,
Well, thank you for getting this done. I appreciate it.
oh, you're sure welcome. So there are some assumptions if you turn to the, not the last page, but the second to last page. This is what assumptions are in this plan. So the ordinance creating the revenue allocation will be enacted before December 31st, 2025. The project will be completed in 2026, be added to the tax rolls in December 2026, and begin generating increment revenue in December 2027. The assessed value will equal the assessor's estimate of $2,234,200. The revenue allocation period runs for 20 years, with collections occurring in years 27 through 44. The tax district levy rates equal the assessor's estimate of .0054143 and remain constant throughout the revenue allocation period. The incremental revenues are allocated 80% to the developer and 20% to urban renewal. An allocation to URA is essential as it is the sole revenue source available to this project, as far as I know. And then no assessor valuation increases are included in the model calculations, even though they might exist in the future. So the very last page. The base value is in column 3. That $1,111 is what will go to all taxing districts as the base value and taxes. The project would be completed in 2026 and hit the tax rolls in 2027 at $2,234,200. The levy rate, the assumed levy rate, in the fourth to the last column is used consistently. That yields $12,097 a year. And $9,677 goes to reimbursement agreement payments, $174,192 total, and a 20% allocation to urban renewal of $24,19 a year, or $43,548. So it will take 20 years to do it at this estimation, and I'm glad to see that you have this kind of an option in front of you. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Allgood.
Hey, LJ, it's wonderful to see you again. It's been a long time.
Some people never change, and you're one of them.
I guess that's probably maybe not be a good thing. But just so there, there's always the opportunity to close an area early, if it pays its debts. The council and the commission both want to increase the value of the north end. We've realized that that's a place that's been neglected. We want to put attention there. If the values continue to go up, as we hope they do in that north end, and the value of this land as well as the others around it go up, is there potential it would shorten the time frame of this area?
There's always that potential with the way things are going, unless we had a major redistribution of values based on some sort of a recession. But on the map of the country, Idaho is making more new homes percentage-wise than any other state.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's probably going to happen.
Okay.
And I think that's a great option. We really didn't have it on the first urban renewal area. I worried about how we're going to shut this down.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's a mechanism. You can do that. And that would be good.
Okay. Perfect. That's what I was after.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Wade.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated.
Do I need to stay for anything else? I have another appointment, but if I need to stay, I can.
I think you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the conflict of interest declaration. Are there any matters on our agenda this evening that create a conflict of interest for any commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on to public comments, where members of the public can address us on any item of concern not on our agenda tonight. Okay, Angie says we're good to go. Moves us to the consent calendar. And what is your disposition regarding the consent calendar?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doty?
will make a motion to approve the consent calendar as printed.
Second.
Here we have a motion by Mr. Doty, a second by Ms. Warwick. Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Very good. Brings us to our update reports, and our first is from RRC Contractors. And I know that Derek Cooper is in San Francisco this week, so was there a representative coming from RRC to speak with us this evening? Okay. Well, seeing none, we will move on. Next is Mr. Sean Mabon from TS Development. Good evening, Sean.
Chairman, Commissioners, my update is we have our design review posted out there, and we're finally getting a design review hearing with the city June 17th, so that's where we're at. It's at noon. I've been trying to keep Chairman Porter updated, and that's where we're at on that project right now. So if you drive by, there's a small sign out there that says June 12th at noon, June 17th at noon, sorry, my bad. And that's our next step.
Very good. Any questions for Sean? Great. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Next report is from Base Layer. On the keyboard? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
All right, Chairman, Commissioners, my apologies. I sent out an email. Looks like they sent this out this afternoon. And I'll go ahead and read what was shared. Apologies here, I'm just pulling this up. Okay. So unfortunately, Shane and the District 26 team were unable to be here tonight, obviously, and they provided an email sharing updates virtually as to where they're at with their progress. They laid it out in different bullet points here. The first is planning. It refers to annexation. Of course, annexation has been completed. They're awaiting review of the planning department on the proposed lot line adjustments and formal creation of parcels to be marketed to end users. They also have a section for engineering. They're coordinating with engineering and Maverick on the dedication of right-of-way for access and alignment of Spring Lake and Green Road. They're actively working with engineering on the top 3 priority projects outlined in the Urban Renewal North Allocation Area project development scope and schedule. The first is Gravel Lane. This is a 12-inch water line extension. The second is Gravel Lane, 8-inch sewer line extension. The third is South Gravel Lane. It's a road extension. They're also working with KM Engineering to prepare a proposal and scope of work for both preliminary and final design of these infrastructure projects with the goal of accelerating delivery of these designs. We had a chance to meet with this group last week, and so it was me, Rob McDonald, Public Works Director, and Haley Hart, Engineering, and we were ultimately just coordinating efforts on some of these improvements that are proposed. I also had a conversation with Intermountain Gas, and they were waiting on some of the information that would come out of that. Intermountain Gas is looking at providing infrastructure in the area, which District 26 is needing for their end users that are looking to come into their project. Right now, they're providing a scope of work to another user in the area that's planning on coming in, and they haven't received that quite yet, but the infrastructure is lacking right now. Intermountain Gas has some gas, high-pressure pipe on the east side of I-84, and then over by Simplot Boulevard, and it needs to work its way up to this area. So there is a scope of work that's going to be provided to an end user to give them an idea of the costs associated with that infrastructure improvement, and we're just waiting on that. And then the other two bullet points they have are market. So this is coordinating with economic development on active end user interest, and they have. They received a letter of intent on a prospective buyer and are in discussions with several other interested parties. However, progress is contingent on circulation and utility improvement being in place. And then lastly, they would appreciate any input or considerations from the URA board regarding the potential siting of the county jail along with the primary corridor and planned main intersection within the North Urban Renewal area. And that is all I have as far as that report is concerned. I'll make sure this is in your hands as well. I actually sent this out to Debbie earlier, and I'll make sure it's circulated to you all as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that I may be able to address.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right, perfect.
Our next update report is from 7th and Main. Welcome, Dean.
Good evening. Great to
Evening.
see you guys again. Sorry I haven't been here in person. I appreciate you guys' flexibility to let me join online. No major updates. Appreciate the support last month, allowing us to engage with the hotel operations group. Now, as I mentioned last month, that probably isn't really going to get going until the end of this year as they're kicking off a current project. So no real updates at this time. We continue conversations and excited to bring more updates kind of when they come to fruition. Outside of that, I can stand for any questions at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Dean. Any questions? Very good.
All right.
Thank you for being.
Yes,
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
very much. The next update report is from Wolfpack Development and Carrie Smith. Is she online this evening or? Okay.
So Chair, Commissioner, she should be on her way here, arriving shortly. I thought she perhaps would be online, but apparently not. But I think
Okay.
she may be coming in person, so I apologize.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
We'll just postpone and talk to her soon. I know that an invitation was also sent to Canyon County in Diana Center, and we still have not received a reply. So it's just for your information. This takes us to our first item of old business. It's an action item to approve a resolution accepting the proposal by ArchNexus for additional scope of stakeholder and community outreach and engagement, not to exceed $20,000. And you have the look of somebody we ought to swear in.
Hello,
Welcome, Adam.
welcome. Thank you. Yeah, just to kind of further explain our proposal, we had our first community outreach meeting on May 26th. I met with a couple of community leaders along with a couple of folks from here and also Mike Dimber from the commissioners. And so with that being said, we saw there was a real need to reach out to the community of what we're doing there and also kind of give them more of an idea of exactly what to expect from this report and to make them feel better about what's going on in their community. And so with that being said, we did add that portion of the scope to our proposal. I think the basis of this meeting is more to explain what that entails. Because it's not only just community outreach, but possibly some other things that we could provide as a service to help with that. And I believe we have two individuals on the call from our office.
Yes, we're here. We've got myself, Michna Dobre, and Peter McBride. I'm the principal in charge, and Peter is also principal and specialist for community engagement.
Yeah, so before we get to that portion of it also, I think I wanted to combine kind of a little update of where we're at also in our progress here. We do plan to have our kickoff meeting with department leaders at the city and the county next Monday and Tuesday. So we'll start meeting with them and getting a kind of overview of what's happening in the north end, along with kind of their concerns and also kind of the growth rate of growth as far as the infrastructure goes, and make sure we can accommodate kind of the things we're thinking and include that in our report. But part of the community outreach meeting that we had, got to listen to some of the concerns that were very valid and things that we will include in our research and our report as well. So we had discussions about that in-house on how to approach those things, and we created a list of questions we're gonna, I think, propose in our meetings with the different directors and the different department leaders to make sure we can get those things resolved, at least provide some advice to this group. So, Migna, if you want to elaborate on the additional services of our proposal?
Actually, I'll let Peter speak to that, and I'm happy to add or answer any questions.
Sure. Community outreach, as everyone knows, is really critical to the success of any project. It builds trust, creates ownership and buy-in from the community. You never want to get down the road and realize that, a property owner or a family, a long-term resident is upset or creating some antagonistic feelings, but having them as a partner is really kind of the goal, right? Like this is their community, this is their home, and that's really critical. So we've kind of built an iterative process of listening, reporting back, analyzing as part of our outreach services. We have a number of different tools, and there's actually a few approaches we could take. There's the traditional, you set up a community public meeting, invite, send out flyers, you get people to come, they give you their feedback and ideas, and that's all great. And we will probably need to do a little bit of that. We also take a really strong approach of going out to the people, finding existing events that are already happening in the community, and going to them. And that could be, rodeos, barbecues, events, even movie theaters, things like that are in the community, and finding those people there. Because if you just do the public meetings, you find that you might get a really vocal minority potentially, and we want to kind of find everyone's voice who's a part of this process. And so we will, to start off, we'll develop kind of an outreach plan that would include, who are the critical stakeholders in this neighborhood, who are the different kind of groups, organizations, businesses, residents who make up that. Identify potential events that we can attend, develop a schedule and a list of tools. And those tools can include all sorts of different things depending on the event, but everything from interactive maps, the dot board, story activities, comment cards, online surveys. We think that that's going to be an important part of this process. And then, in our proposal, we mentioned this idea of seed certification. We're not necessarily proposing that we do a certification, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of what that was, just for clarification. And it's kind of a network, individuals and organizations that develop kind of a third-party rating system. Or a certification system that basically says that certifies that a project is doing what it meant to do and achieving community goals, and can effectively answer kind of 4 questions. And one is identifying what are the critical issues, both in social, economic, and environmental categories that are being addressed by this study or this project. What are the results and how will they address those issues? How will you measure those results? And then how has that community participated in the project? And seed certification is really kind of meant for kind of design projects. So as you work on an architecture project or a development project, it's really beneficial for that. So it's not necessarily critical for this feasibility study, but some of those principles at play will kind of inform our process as we engage with the community. Anything to add, Migna?
Oh, I think that was a great outline, and in summary is we have all these tools, we have this experience. We also understand, and this is always typical, but in this case, we understand it's important to have this third party kind of neutrality to the process, so there's not any mistrust or distrust between that can sometimes happen between a city and the neighborhood, the community members, and so we kind of want to come in as a neutral party and engage, and without any preconceived ideas or history, and so we think this will be helpful to the process, and we'll design that process together with the city and the community, and so that's why we had that kind of 20,000 not to exceed cap. We had given a range of 15 to 25. 20 is right in the middle of that, so that sounds like a great way to proceed. Any questions?
Any questions for Adam and the
Just
team?
comments, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Doty.
So everything they said is absolutely correct. I attended that meeting. A citizen of our community reached out to me. Adam was fortunate enough to take the holiday, I think he wanted a holiday break as well from whatever events he was attending.
Yeah, it was the in-laws I was trying to get away from, so yeah.
Well, I wanted you to say it and not me.
Public record.
And that's exactly what came out of that meeting, more of the house-to-house visits, basic understanding of how urban renewal works, what the pros and cons are of urban renewal, and to make sure that community understands that, and of course, we hear that a lot. So as long as the budget would allow for it, I am in support of this based off of the meeting, and I will not reiterate everything they just said, but other than to say that's pretty close to what happened at that meeting.
Great, thank you, Mr. Doty. Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Adam, so you've heard that Roger Brooks Commission's going to be here to go over this new urban renewal second plan of what he does on that planning. You've heard of that, correct?
Correct.
What's your guys' approach, or how do you expect to or not expect to glean any information from that visit? I know he's going to be here Thursday to speak to us at the Plaza, but
Yeah,
what
so
are
I
your
think
thoughts on
those are
that?
two completely different items, right? So what he's doing, we're doing two different things. So the information we gather, we'll definitely share if we're asked to with him to help him do what he's trying to do. But certainly we would love to meet with him and get his thoughts on kind of what he's seen for this area, and then maybe piggyback off those thoughts as well. But our goal right now is more to provide information to this group in our study and have you guys, of course, decide what you want to take from that. But, you know, the list of items that I gathered from that community meeting is nothing out of what we knew we were wanting to provide. So I think we're good there. The concerns that were brought up there, I think are valid concerns that obviously we'll add in our study for, so suggestions. But other than that, yeah, we'll work with them, whatever you guys ask. But yeah, looking forward to it.
So when you say looking forward to it, you're going to reach out? Who's going to reach out? Is there an introduction, or is there not an introduction? Because I appreciate you reaching out to me on that meeting that we had
Yeah.
Memorial Weekend.
Yeah, and I have no plans to reach out to them or what their schedule is. I know nothing about that, or we know nothing about that. So if you guys do want us to reach out to them, then I can certainly make an effort to do that. But I think it needs to come from this group or somebody from the city to reach out and put that together for us. Because right now, our focus is on this study right now. So.
Mr. Allgood?
Yes, Adam, what was the original cost of the feasibility study? Do you remember?
47,000.
47,000?
That includes our consultant that we have as part of our team.
So with this add-on, we would be approaching 70, basically. Raylan, how does that fit with what? Because we're already, the 47 was a big number for us, if I remember right.
That is correct. So with any, might help if I hit the button. With any budget item right now, we are not hitting, we're not getting enough increment from the north to really cover our current expenses. So we are using operating funds that have been accumulated over the course of the last urban renewal district, not from increment funds, but from other areas that we've accumulated those for. And so right now we have between 2 to 3 years of operating expenses And so that does hit the operating expenses. One thing I will say that hasn't been part of the discussion, but both Commissioner Allgood and Commissioner Doty do know, is that there will be a significant ask in the budget of more than $100,000 an increase to fund a position this next year. And so that will be an additional ask on the operating funds as well. So that's why this proposal came before you, because it's needed, but at the same time, there is a cost to that. So it's up to the commissioners whether or not this cost outweighs the long-term operating for that 2 to 3 years term, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Doty?
I'm a follow-up now. So with the new position, Raylan, have you seen the job duties of that individual? The issue we had was we don't really have a mechanism at Urban Renewal to do a community outreach, right? None of us are specialized in that, and none of us do that. And though it's sometimes forgotten, this is a volunteer committee. So would that individual be able to help accomplish that, or is this something more specialized?
I have seen the job description, but since this position would be supervised by Mr. Jenkins, I would refer to him.
Yes, I have put together a job description focusing on those duties associated with urban renewal, specific to working with the developers associated with projects, but also to communicate back to the commission in reference to those projects, keeping track of milestones, using software for that activity as well. That's all been included in the assistant director role that is set to come in under economic development.
So I guess follow up, Mr. Chair.
Please.
So simply put, can it do what Adam is saying that they can do for us, or is that not going to be part of their job description?
So yes, thank you for clarifying. Not necessarily. So really it'd be working probably in tandem with Adam and his team on something like this, but it wouldn't be specific to that level of outreach as far as the duties that I've prescribed for this role. It would be more of an internal base of communication between the projects that are occurring in urban renewal as opposed to what they're doing that's specific to a site or a urban renewal district as a whole.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the conflicting issue here is we're spending $47,000 for this information, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're $20,000 we're going to go, but we don't need to know what the community is thinking or what they want. And I get that that's not what people are saying, but it's $20,000 more to make sure we get the study right, yeah, in my opinion, and hear from the citizens in those homes that don't often show up to public meetings. And I believe since we've already committed 47, that having someone go out and collect that information for us, otherwise we're not going to get that information, and they're going to produce the report based off of, yeah, I guess incomplete or that piece of information missing, right? So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would agree with that. I mean, this is at a time when the messaging is very important and the communication to the constituents out there is very important. It's not the time to, I don't want to say this flippantly, but nickel and dime and hope for the best. I think we need to have experts on our side watching out for this. Any other comments? Dave?
Mr. Chairman, I think LJ Waite's presentation there on just one corner block of that area kind of tells us, it's money well spent. So I don't see where we can go wrong putting that total amount towards that whole area.
And just one final comment. This is a time when we work together with the Brooks team and make sure that we get this right. We can't be working at cross purposes. There's nothing to be gained by posturing and positioning. We've got to get this right. So we'd appreciate that from you folks. And at this point, we'll entertain a motion unless, Chris, did you have another comment?
Just one quick, Raylan, when does increments start coming in? It would be like about 2027. If this goes through, it'll be 2027 before increment would hit.
That is correct. So if there was, the base values would be set for 2026, and then, yes. So base values start at the end of this year, and we have a 1-year gap, and then 2027, 2027. So
Perfect.
there'll be a full 1.5 years before we'd start receiving increment funds.
Mr. Cole?
Yeah, question. There was some talk about connecting with Roger Brooks, and you said that that's not your responsibility to connect with them, is that right, or?
Well, we just don't know how to reach out to them, but again, we need permission from you guys or somebody to direct it.
Going back to what you said, Chairman, I think isn't it important that we direct somebody?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that meetings are being set up by the director of the chamber, and I know that they're anxious to talk to Urban Renewal, and we'll make sure that that connection gets made and that
Yep,
invitation.
you have my
gets-
information, so yeah, just send them my way and we'll coordinate.
Thank you, Tom.
And as I mentioned before, commissioners, that I'll attend these meetings as needed and give you guys updates as we move forward and give you guys progress. And just as you asked developers to do, so we'll do the same.
Any other questions for Adam? Okay, very good. Do we have a motion in regard to this action item?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doty?
make a motion to approve the resolution accepting the proposal by Arch Nexus for an additional scope for stakeholder and community outreach not to exceed 20,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second to Mr. Moore. And with the secretary call the roll.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be seeing you.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith has entered, and so we will bring her back up to the podium and get the report from Wolfpack. Welcome, Carrie.
I'm really tardy, I'm sorry. You guys went fast today. So Carrie Smith for the record, and I'm representing Wolfpack Development for the Trolley Square project in 905 Arthur Street. We are still in the same position as last month, kind of battling all of the permit fees, the impact fees, and also there were connection fees added now, and so the project is probably on the verge of not happening, so it's kind of a bummer. But, so that's my update today, is I don't have a great update. I did speak with the city engineer today. The recommendation was to hire a traffic study, which those are not cheap, and to get kind of a different analysis of peak hours and types of, like the number of vehicles that would come and go during those peak hours. And so Mr. Dancer's pretty frustrated, and we'll see what happens. They had a pretty neat concept that they were going to pull the trigger on for the grass area, but if this project doesn't go through, they'll be holding off again.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Any questions? Not seeing any.
I will say to Adam and the group, I do work with and for Roger Brooks, and so I can easily get him in touch with him. So,
We'll make a note.
thanks.
Thank you, Carrie. Right, that brings us into new business, and Mr. Hilty, our first action item is to consider a resolution denying the Middleton Rural Fire District's request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to sort of address the first three items of new business because they are very much related. They arise out of a new statute. There's an existing statute that allows emergency services, specifically fire districts and ambulance districts, to opt out of participating in the reallocation financing provisions of an urban renewal plan. And so you remember when LJ was presenting to you on that Lee Jenke site, he already deducted what would be payable by the Canyon County Ambulance District on the anticipation that they would not be willing to participate. And that will be the case as we go forward with, a more general central or north area that Arch Nexus is going to help us with. We'll have to wrestle with that issue. We ask them to participate, and those districts can say no. The change that we're wrestling with here was an amendment to the statute where the legislature then extended to fire districts and ambulance districts a conditional option to get out of an existing reallocation area. So this is new. My colleagues across the state are wrestling with this because many rural fire districts and ambulance districts have asked to be excluded from existing reallocation areas. And so there's been, over the last probably 6 weeks, a significant amount of discussion and emails on my listservs, and I've had some phone conversations, read some memos. How exactly does the statute apply? how do we go through this analysis once we receive these requests. And so just for a little background, I did give you the statute so that you can kind of see, starting at Section 5, how the process works. But let me start with the bottom line and kind of work back, I guess, through some of the process. The condition is really a comparison of two numbers. The statute says, and I guess let's just go over it. Turn to the second page of that handout that I gave you. The statute is 50-2906. And this is kind of a long, wordy piece of legislation that really says something fairly simple. And it's from subsection 5A. Any fire protection district or ambulance service district may withdraw from being subject to an urban renewal allocation financing provision under an urban renewal plan established by a local governing body ordinance prior to July 1st of 2025. Okay, so this is where we start to look at existing ones. And here's the relevant language. If the urban renewal plan establishing the revenue allocation financing provision does not have any outstanding bonds, contractual obligations, or other indebtedness being funded by such revenue allocation financing provision greater than the amount of the revenue allocation proceeds that was attributable to the fire protection district or ambulance service district as of December 31st of the immediate prior tax year. Okay, so you're looking for two numbers, okay? One is what was the total accumulated revenue allocation amount that was received by the agency as of December 31st of the prior tax year, which for us would be 2024, of course. You get a number. That number is one that comes from the county. And so this process starts with these agencies asking the county to do an accounting and to provide that number to the agency. And we did get that, and it has to be done by May 1st, and they have to pass a resolution indicating that they want to do this, which they did. And I think the timing part of that, all those steps have been met. So we received that number. What the agency then does is looks at that second number, outstanding bonds, contractual obligations, or other indebtedness being funded. And so I worked with Raylyn, and we looked at what were we going to need to use this revenue allocation financing for into each of the areas. So it's Caldwell North area has exclusion requests, and then there's one in Side A for the ambulance district. So we calculated those numbers, and I'll go through that on each of these three requests. The way that I read the statute, and this is true of my colleagues who represent urban renewal agencies, is that you simply compare the numbers and you provide the result. You don't have a choice. If your debt obligation is higher than their accumulated increment, you deny the request. If your debt obligations are lower than their accumulated increment, you grant the request. And so it's not really, as far as I can read in the statute, discretionary. The condition is, if one number is higher than the other number, they get out. That's it. And so I am going to go ahead and kind of, the statute requires us to do an analysis and to provide an explanation to these districts. And so you'll see under each of these action items a letter that was prepared for the chairman's signature. The action I would request of you tonight in each of those three action items is to approve the resolution, which adopts that as the analysis of the agency, authorizes the chairman to execute it, and then it gets delivered back. And it's not just a denial, it provides an explanation of what we're reading in the statute and how we went about coming to this conclusion, and then there's also supporting documentation attached so that they can see what they're looking at in terms of what we thought the indebtedness was. One more statutory point I want to make before we get into the individual numbers here is one of the things that we looked at, and I think most agencies are looking at this as well, is operating expenses. The agency has contractual obligations that are not the traditional type of bonding or TIF agreements, but they're obligations nonetheless to pay for an insurance premium, to pay attorney's fees. And you have a line item every month where you reimburse the city for your use of economic development staff. I think those were the big ones, Raylyn. I didn't do any of this. She had it already all done, including breaking it down among the different districts. And so she just decided, not in response to this, but the way she kept the accounting was, you look at these project areas, correct me if I get this wrong, Raylyn, but you look at the project areas based on property values, and that gives you a ratio. And so she divides up those costs among those project areas based on that ratio. So we think we've got a very defensible number, but the thing that I want you guys to understand is, like what has been the discussion across the state, we think it's fair to include in our calculation of debt obligations that are owed by the agency that are payable from increment revenue, those ongoing operational expenses. And Raylan was already attributing those and dividing them among the project areas. So we're not making up numbers. We had those numbers. They did need to be updated because they're operational. They're ever increasing or ever changing. I'll put it that way. It won't be too depressing, but ever changing. The statement of purpose in the original legislation talked about. It didn't talk about, I'll get this wrong, I don't have it with me. It didn't talk about comparing these debt limitations. I think what it said is if the agency has zero obligations of any kind. And then the language that actually got into the final bill was what I read to you. Outstanding bonds, contractual obligations, or other indebtedness. Now, what went into the legislation to make that change from the statement of purpose to the final language, I don't know. But the attorneys representing agencies, and this isn't my work, this was in a conversation with Todd Lakey, who represents Eagle and Meridian Urban Renewal Agencies. He said what he feels like is that the legislature intended for the calculation of debt to be broad. The reason being that the revenue allocation is the primary funding mechanism for the agency, and we fold in that anticipated revenue to the feasibility study that underlies the creation of these agencies. So it's no small thing to start giving it away. So I wanted you, that's kind of, because this is new, a new piece of legislation, wanted you to kind of have some of the background in terms of how we're interpreting it. All right, let's get into the numbers. On page 30 of your packet is the letter that is prepared for the Middleton Rural Fire District on their request to be excluded from the Caldwell North area. Okay, so it's Middleton Rural Fire, Caldwell North. The numbers that they provided us from the county indicate that their contribution to increment has been, as of December 31st, 2024, just under $6,500. What we determined to be our obligations there as an agency are $398,911.75. That's on the TIF agreement with District 26. So we owe that out of increment to refund over time. We also had $341,722 of the portion of the ongoing operational expenses for the year that would be attributable to that district. Now that number will change, especially if we open up another large district. That number will go down quite a bit because we'll have more areas to spread that around on. But right now we've just got Caldwell North and the little tiny Site A. So it gets basically all of the expenses. Whether you include it or not, it's obviously far in excess of the $6,500. So again, back to the statute. Compare two numbers, the debt number's higher. I don't think you can approve this request. I think you are statutorily obligated to deny it. All right. Page 101 of your packet has got the second letter. This is to the ambulance district regarding their request to withdraw from Caldwell North area. It's obviously got the same kind of debt obligation calculus that I just outlined, the total being over $740,000. Their contribution so far has been $3,493.11. Again, not close. The last letter is the Canyon County Ambulance District's request to withdraw from Site A. They haven't paid anything in Site A yet because it hasn't gone on to the tax rolls that way. And so they don't have any contribution. Raylyn helped me calculate and there is, of course, no TIF agreement there either. And so all we had was the share of operating expenses, and Raylyn helped me calculate that at just over $7,800. So we're comparing $7,800 to zero. So again, this is a request they can make every year. It'll change every year. Their increment will accumulate. Our debt obligations will shift around some depending on where we're at with projects and so forth. But the snapshot we have that's relevant right now would indicate that these requests need to be denied. So that concludes my report on these first 3 new business items. Mr. Chairman, I would stand for questions.
Very good, thank you, Mark. Mr. Cole?
Yeah, a couple of questions, Mark. Are there any attorneys that are taking a contrary position to you?
Not that I'm aware of.
And do the agencies have the same access to the numbers that you've talked about? So they have the same access?
The other urban renewal agencies?
No, the agencies that are withdrawing.
That are requesting withdrawal.
Yeah, requesting withdrawal, yeah.
They would not, they would have access to our numbers through public records requests, I think, but it is incumbent upon this agency to provide both the calculation of the debt and the supporting documents.
That's our obligation?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then what are the consequences of denying?
What it means is that there will continue to be increment reallocated from these taxing districts to the agency as increment, right? So that number that's above the base assessment roll and the current assessed value, that will continue to be reallocated to the agency.
Do the consequences of the denial, though, does that put us in any type of legal jeopardy?
Brand new statute? I don't suspect so. You know, we're looking at this year at a great disparity between, you know, what these debt obligations are and what, if any, contributions they have accumulated as increment. Let me explain what I mean. There is, I talked to Mr. Lakey about his client in Eagle, and that is an area that has been ongoing for quite some time. And so the amount of money that's been reallocated from, I think the rural fire district in Eagle was over $400,000. So I'm looking at 6,500, 3,400. They had over 400,000. The longer that the agency goes on, the more increment you'd expect to see, because you're going to have increasing property values and larger increment. From a practical standpoint, I think our risk is extremely low because there's just not that much at issue right now in these particular ones. I also think the risk is low because I do think that the statute's fairly straightforward. And I think we are entitled to include whatever expenses. The TIF agreement is clearly contractual indebtedness in the north area. There's no question about that. Whether or not you can include these operating expenses, that's something that somebody might want to contest. But it's also contractual indebtedness at some level.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Doty?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I would just say that I think it's a great checks and balance, though, and because obviously all of these are important entities within our communities. However, if the law is the law, the way that Mr. Hilty interprets it, I agree that we'll have to deny it, but I think it is a good checks and balance for these contributing people in our community. Thank you.
Mr. Allgood?
I just kind of wanted to point out for instance, the Site A that Mr. Wade presented on earlier. Right now, the taxable value is about $180,000, and as it goes up, these agencies or the ambulance district was wanting their share of that. But at the end of the day, he expects it to be well over $2 million in taxable value, and they will benefit from that as well as any other taxing agency that taxes. And that's kind of the idea of bringing, you know, there's a short-term pain for, at the end of the day, everybody that benefits from property taxes will receive a gain.
That's exactly the pitch that we would make to those agencies. Whether they buy it or not, it's going to be up to their governing boards.
Any other questions for Mark on this, Mr. Cole?
Yeah. What is their alternative? Once the denial is delivered to them, where does that put them?
The statute doesn't provide any particular, well, there wouldn't be any further processing or appeal or anything like that I can see. I think if they felt like it was done wrongly, they'd have to approach the agency as if we had violated the statute. I would expect to get, you know, some kind of an analysis and a letter from their attorney explaining how we did it wrong, before they filed a lawsuit, we'd probably come back and take another look.
I don't see any other questions. Mr. Hilty, we need to take these and move on them one at a time?
Yes.
Okay. Our first one is to consider the resolution denying Middleton Rural Fire District's request to withdraw. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair. No, sorry. I move that we approve the letter of denial as described by council.
We have a motion by Mr. Allgood, a second by Mr. Cole. Any further discussion? Would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Allgood,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
that's all.
I would vote yes, even though you haven't called my name.
Commissioner Cole.
Very good. Second action item is to consider the resolution, same resolution, denying Canyon County Ambulance District's request. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we do that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Cole. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Warwick. Any other discussion? Christina, would you call the roll again?
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood.
Yes.
Very good. And the last action item is to consider the resolution denying Canyon County Ambulance Service District's request. Do we have a motion?
Seeing green lights on it. Mr. Chair, I will make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Allgood. Do we have a
Second.
Second by Ms. Warwick. Any other discussion? Christina, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Allgood,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole.
Yes.
Okay, we got them all. Mark, thanks for your work on that and the good explanation. And appreciate your work. Brings us to action item number 4, to consider a resolution approving an assignment of assumption agreement with the City of Caldwell and TC Property Management for the construction of right-of-way improvements in the north area. Mr. McDonald, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner, Chairman, and Commission. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'll take a quick stab at this, and then if we need further explanation, hopefully Mr. Hilty can jump in. The purpose of this agreement is it's basically a three-way agreement between the Urban Renewal Agency, the city, and TC Properties, which is Ted Caldwell's development out in the north allocation area. And it's a little bit complicated, but I assume I can speak freely about what's going on out there? Yeah. So Mr. Caldwell has a property that he is looking at selling to the amphitheater group that is over kind of where the canal loops around, and there's an area over there. And as part of that negotiation, in the interest of trying to give them a better price for the property and incentivize the amphitheater group to come in, he has asked that a responsibility he has over on his side to construct part of Chicago Street and the frontage of Gravel Lane immediately adjacent to a parcel he has there could be picked up by the Urban Renewal Commission. And so if the Urban Renewal Commission agrees to this, then basically the Urban Renewal Agency is agreeing to help construct some of the road infrastructure within the urban renewal area, and by in turn that would be offsetting the purchase price for the amphitheater project and help incentivize them to move forward and pull the trigger on this. My understanding is that all of the other concerns that had been brought up in the past between Mr. Caldwell and the amphitheater group have been resolved, and this is kind of like the last pending issue. The road that would be improved that the Urban Renewal Agency would be taking over the responsibility for is Chicago Street and Gravel Lane. Those are both roads that are contemplated in the original Urban Renewal action plan. And so that is, it would be an appropriate expense based on my analysis of the Urban Renewal Agency to take over that responsibility and construct those collector roads. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thanks, Mr. McDonald. Questions? Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, Rob, and I understand the request from Urban Renewal, what's Caldwell's portion of that? You said it's a three-way agreement.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. The Caldwell's responsibility is that the original agreement that Mr. Caldwell had was with the city, and that was a municipal services agreement. This was an agreement that obligated him to certain improvements at the time of his annexation, at the time of his developing of certain lots. And so that was with the city. And so by the city consenting to allow that portion of the agreement of the MSA to be pushed over to Urban Renewal, that was what the city approved. And that just happened a week ago in the city council meeting. And so then the Urban Renewal would then have to approve it as well to accept that responsibility of those improvements.
Mr. Chair. Is there a approximate dollar amount that's being considered for this improvement?
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have the exact number, but it was, I believe it was under, I believe it was probably in the $700,000 to $800,000 range. And I apologize for not being better prepared on that. I have those numbers. I just don't have them right here with me.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Other questions for Rob? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a resolution before us. How do we want to move forward on that?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doe?
I make a motion we consider, or that we approve the resolution approving an assignment and assumption agreement with the city of Caldwell and TC Property Management for construction of right-of-way improvements in the CNURA.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Warwick?
Raylan, where are we going to get that money?
So I think it depends on the timeline of when that obligation becomes due. If it was to become due within the next year, there would definitely be some issues. And so I would ask Rob first the timeline if he has it.
The timeline is, I apologize, I'll come to the microphone. The timeline is tied to when he develops that site, and he does have a ways to go still to go through plan review, design, plan review, and then receive his permits and then be able to break ground. And so my guess is that it's probably a year or two out, and hopefully by then we can figure out some funding mechanisms to be able to cover that.
Judge Cole?
So is it necessary that we approve this tonight? Is there some type of rush on this?
Great question, Chairman, Commissioner. I would probably defer to Mr. Jenkins on that question. I know that this is the last component that's holding up the deal for the land sale for the amphitheater to, I believe it's one of the last issues. And so until this is approved, that project's not going to move forward or close on any property or anything to that effect. So to what extent it's urgent, I don't know, but that's what it's holding up.
Mr. McDonald, if I could sneak one question in real quick. When was Mr. Caldwell's agreement with the city made? I believe it was 2014?
2014, yes.
So there's no imminent rush to get this road built, is there?
Yeah, it's been in this condition for
Okay.
11 years, yeah.
All right. Ms. Warwick,
Sorry.
any other questions?
I was curious if
Sure.
Mr. Jenkins had any follow-up to.
Yeah, Chair, Commission, I don't. Really, it's just moving the ball forward on potential negotiations and whatnot as it relates to future projects out there. They certainly just want to clear up, what obligations are necessary and tied to this stretch of the road. It's the connection from Chicago to Gravel. I don't know the exact I don't know if you recall, Rob, how many feet it is. It's a small stretch, though, Commissioner Allgood, from Chicago Street to gravel is what the obligation consisted of.
Yeah, I believe Chicago is like 600 feet of frontage, and then I know that gravel is like 400 feet of frontage. So it's not a huge, lengthy area, but it's just the frontage of that parcel.
Mr. Cole?
So let me understand, we're being asked to pass a resolution tonight, and we don't know what the amount of our obligation is going to be?
I apologize. I do have the amount here. Let me just make sure I can identify this here. I apologize. Give me just a moment here.
And while you're looking at that, we have the money, Raylan?
So within the north area, right now, based off the increment we received, we have just over $350,000 available. In the increment we received, I haven't received next year's projections on what we're supposed to receive, but it should be more than last year, which is this year. We received about $180,000. I'm not talking with my mic on. Let me repeat that. So we have about $350,000 that we've received in the north increment area that we have available. And this next year, we will receive over $180,000. I don't know how much more, but that is based off of what we received last year. We should receive more than that. So it still would be, we would need this project at least 2 to 3 years out to be able to pay for it without dipping into operating expenses.
And Mr. Chairman, the expected cost, including contingency and design and soft costs, is $791,000.
Thank you, Rob. Mr. Doty?
I have more questions now.
Okay.
So can you break that, is that Urban Renewal's portion, the city's portion, or is it both, combined the city and Urban Renewal's portion, or?
So,
I don't know this, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, the cost of the road project would be something that Urban Renewal would be agreeing to. And so if that was, if there were funding, we've talked about a lot of funding mechanisms in the past. If it was something that the city picked up at some point, then Urban Renewal would be reimbursing the city. If it was something that was picked up by a development, then there could be a TIF agreement. So there are different mechanisms there. But at the end of the day, it would be the Urban Renewal Agency that is agreeing to cover the cost for those expenses of that road construction, that frontage.
I have a follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And based on this agreement, and maybe Mr. Hilty will have to chime in, as soon as it's annexed, we have to fulfill that obligation? Because if that's true and we do that tomorrow, then we can't fulfill that obligation, right?
No, and maybe I misspoke, Commissioner Doty. It's not the annexation, it's when they pull their permits and they start building, then the frontage improvements happen with the construction of their site.
Okay, just another follow-up. So if they were to pull those in the next 3 months, we would not have the money to do our end of that obligation, correct? Is that what I'm hearing, Ray Lynn?
Currently, if we needed to pay $790,000, we don't have enough in increment, the north area increment. We would have to use our operating funds, which is really the life of the agency. And then there would be hard choices on future projects.
Right, which is spread out already over 2 to 3 years, but if we take nearly $800,000 out of that, it's going to reduce that very quickly, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, a question for Rob. Rob, how long has this extension been lingering from Chicago to gravel? And all that road infrastructure out there? It's been over 10 years, right?
Yes, so just as we mentioned before, the MSA with Ted Caldwell's group was in 2014. And so they've had that obligation to do that frontage for 11 years at whatever time they decide to develop. And so to this point, they have not done any development yet.
Yeah. So in your opinion, with this being completed at a later time or whatever, or approving this, this would enable that parcel where the amphitheater is going to go in, that would enable that to go into effect. They would be able to close that transaction, is that right?
That is, yeah, everything I understand is that this is to the benefit of helping that transaction close.
Mr. Chairman, what if there was an urban renewal that came from Centennial Way out through all that sagebrush and up there to the freeway there? What would that enable? Would that enable anything on a tax?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, and Stephen, I'll ask you too. I think that area is already in the north area.
Is it?
If I'm tracking where you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, Stephen? It is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's time to move on with this.
Stephen, if I could get your perspective from economic development, what kind of a center would an amphitheater become out there in terms of attracting new business and restaurants and hotels perhaps and so forth? What does it mean to that area in terms of business and increment?
Yeah, Chair, Commission, in our opinion, it certainly can be a catalyst project for future development that could beget other projects in the area. We also see it as a significant tourism draw. Really, how we look at it internally is, of course, this investment from Urban Renewal could beget a future investment from this group that would be in the perhaps $20 million range, somewhere in there, to build the facility. Of course, that comes back to increment and benefits us, but it has multiple benefits, I would say, overall. There's also potential for infrastructure to be brought into the south through this project. So we look at the downwind improvements that are anticipated infrastructure-wise with water, sewer improvements and whatnot that feed into this project. So there's a variety of different things in terms of dominoes falling in the perhaps right direction if things progress the way we hope they do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Doty?
Yeah, I understand where we're going, I think, is the return on investment, right? So what's the build-out? Again, we wouldn't be obligated until they pull the building permit. What's their responsibility once they pull the building permits, Mr. McDonald? Do they have a timeline in which they have to complete their obligation? Because all of that sounds great as long as it comes to fruition, right? Because you'll make your money back. I mean, a $20 million investment over our $700,000 investment. But are they also under some obligation? Ours seems like ours is more immediate, is when this happens, we have to do this. Do they have the same obligation on their end?
Chairman, Commissioner, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure what kind of timeframes. I can speak to building permits. Once you pull a building permit, you have 12 months before you have to get through certain inspections. And so they do have a time frame from a building permit side. From a development agreement side, I'm not exactly sure what criteria is in a development agreement. I don't even think there is one for this project. And so I don't know that there's something like that that is obligating them to move at a certain pace. I'm not sure.
Mr. Chair, then I would like, maybe we should take a second and delay this and have that written in there. If they do not fulfill their obligation on their end, if we're fronting this money, then they would owe this money back to us. Is that in the contract, Mr. Hilty, or not?
No, it's currently not. And so obviously, Commissioners, you put your finger on a legitimate issue. Raylene and I were discussing it very briefly. Maybe the thing, I'll just throw this out as a suggestion, maybe the thing to do is table this until the next meeting. One of the things that comes to mind is, we have talked before about potential bonding options that could be funded through the city. And Rob, I don't know what's there, but right now there's enough money for the agency to do it, but it would hurt if this obligation came up soon and we can't control the timing of it. It's going to be up to Mr. Caldwell and when he decides to develop the adjoining property. But there is some money available in increment available for this project, and maybe there's a way to provide a backstop with some sort of commitment from the city, right? Because we've talked about this, we've plotted it out, we presented it. I mean, there's some funds, I know we're going to build a well, but we may be able to provide enough comfort that we can take on, the agency can take on this obligation and see this economic development opportunity while still having, you know, some assurance that if it happens sooner rather than later, that the funds will be there. If it happens 11 years from now, right, it's going to be a non-issue. But it might be good, since we're being asked to do it now, and there are some timing issues, to see if there's a way to backstop this, you know, with essentially what would be a commitment from the city on some of those excess funds, which would then ultimately be reimbursed to the city from increment, which we talked about. Just a thought.
Unless, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, so if we're obligated up front, I'd like to see some protection on the other end as well. So I can certainly withdraw my motion and table it if that, which is how I would be more comfortable about it now that we understand our obligation.
Mr. Cole?
Yeah, so I just think, to me, I mean, it's a great idea, obviously, I think, the amphitheater, but there's some players there that I think, I mean, I would expect to see them here in the crowd. You know, it's an important issue. It would seem to me that they would have an interest, you know, to come here and talk to us a little bit about, be able to answer the questions that we don't have. To me, there's just too many unanswered questions here, and I mean, I would vote no on this now. So.
Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, you're getting the round table tonight. But and I agree with Commissioner Cole completely. So today, with nothing passed, this obligation is on TC Development, TC Property Management. If they own this obligation? Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. It is their obligation currently.
Are they asking us to assume 100% of that obligation?
They have requested for the Urban Renewal Commission to assume, the Urban Renewal Agency to assume the obligation of this. There's a lot of things in the agreement. This is just one portion that deals with the frontage and the road construction on Chicago and Gravel Lane. Mm-hmm. And in turn, then that would allow him to provide a discount on the other property.
Right, and I'm just thinking maybe, I don't know, if Mr. Jenkins, feel free to jump in. Can we maybe share some costs on this obligation or some, you know, and I don't know all the other things that are in the agreement. I'm just, sure. But this sounds like we would be accepting a very large obligation from someone who's already agreed to take on this obligation 11 years ago. And so I would kind of like some input, maybe meet halfway or something, rather than just assume someone else's obligation without any information.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Rob and Stephen. So TC Development, Ted Caldwell, he optioned the property to Maverick, is that right? He was the owner of that, and he sold that ground to them, correct?
Yeah, he did.
He did. Everything that he's done out there in the years that I've been out there as a property owner, he's moved expeditiously. I mean, he's gone forward, and he's made things happen when nobody else did. Is that right? Is that about right? Yeah, and yeah. I would think, you know, to hold up that amphitheater, and I understand what's being said here. We want to see some numbers. We'd like to see somebody stand up and say, okay, we're going to get this done. We're going to do this. I mean, if they do or they don't, I think just on the history that I have with that neighbor of mine out there, that developer, he's always produced. And he's been the first one to come and try to make that develop out there at that exit. So I'm in favor of it. I think it's a small amount of money for what is going to be developed out there in that area. That's nothing but sagebrush. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Very good. Ms. Warwick?
Mr. Chair, I agree for the return, it's a small amount of money, but you got to have it to be able to cover that. And if that development, if he does proceed, like you said, in a real expeditious manner, that means we would have to have that money in a real expeditious manner, and
I understand that.
We don't.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to the numbers that she said. I was awake for that.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Mr. Doty?
And yeah, I agree with everything that's said. My key here is there a safeguard? So if he does go expeditiously and moves on it, then we shouldn't have any problem, right? However, if he doesn't, and now we have the road built, but so I guess the counter argument is if he does what he's been doing and his reputation is what it is, there shouldn't be a problem. So I'm not so sure there should be a problem then saying if I don't do that, then I will reimburse this money since you built the road and there's nothing out here. So.
Very good. I think we also batted around the idea that maybe we should table this for a month and come back with a better plan, as Mark alluded to. Maybe have a couple of options when it comes to, if it does come down the pike really fast at us, we have some ways to move. So with your permission, I would ask Economic Development and Public Works to work with us in the next month to come back with a plan that has some concrete and some teeth in it. So,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Alger?
I don't know whether that requires a motion, but I would make that motion if it does.
okay, well, we'll take it as a motion. Is there a second?
What is the motion?
To table for a month, come back with a better understanding of the cost and the ability to pay it. All those in favor?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. That takes us to action item number 5, approving a draft urban renewal plan project area and reallocation area for the Jenke property site, Site B, and authorizing the draft to be sent to the City of Caldwell and Caldwell P&Z Commission for further consideration and action.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's could stand as my report. That's what we want to do. We have there's a draft plan for the Lee Jenke area. This, as you are aware, the processing really moves to the city, and it is the city council that has to approve an urban renewal plan by ordinance. And so we always kind of start with this step to make sure that the agency and commissioners are aware of, sort of the scope of the plan, and that is going to be moving forward. This is obviously a draft. It can change based on city council input. It can change based on public input. It can change based on your input. But I wanted to let you know this is where we're at. We at least have a draft and we're ready to start processing it. It certainly incorporates the work that LJ Waite did on the feasibility study, and would certainly entertain any of your comments or questions now or in the future as this goes. If you're reading it and have questions or concerns, reach out to us. It's going to be a living document here for a little while. But we do want to get going on some of those statutory steps.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Mr. Cole?
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Doty?
Just one. Have we shared the report from Mr. Waite with Mr. Jenke to make sure he's aware? Has that been shared with him?
I know he knows the report is in. And
And you haven't heard like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to, go
I
ahead.
just
Raina.
want to make a comment that Mr. Waite did talk to Mr. Jenke directly during the feasibility study and was able to get a good grasp of understanding of what the developer needed, so.
All right, thank you.
okay, do we have a motion in regard to this resolution?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Allgood?
I move to approve resolution number 2025-08.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Allgood, a second by Ms. Warwick. Any other discussion? Christina, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Very good. Brings us to action item number 6, to consider a resolution approving the TIF agreement with Maverick. Good evening, Mr. Hilty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The document that went out originally in the packet had blanks in it, had highlights in it. It was a draft. We were receiving input that we needed from Maverick late Thursday into Friday. We were trying to get this done so that it could be acted on tonight. I don't know that we got there. There was an updated version of this that was produced, I think, on Friday. Debbie communicated with Mr. Waterman about it today. I don't know if it went out to the commissioners, the updated version. I don't, okay.
She's just distributing it now.
I
we did what we could. I want to be honest that you clearly haven't had time to review this. It was in draft form. I think we just didn't have enough time.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doyle.
I'd make a motion that we continue this for a month. Excuse me. We just got several pages here, and this is the first we're seeing it, so there's no way I would feel comfortable approving it.
I'll second that.
Thank you for your
Understood.
candor, Mark, and appreciate that. Mr. Moore,
Chairman,
comment?
quick question for Mr. Hilty. So just a quick snapshot of this, anything you can tell us to look for, anything that we should be privy to in that review?
Yeah, to take well, I mean, really what it does is outlines the projects that they're going to do that would be eligible for reimbursement through TIF agreement. There's estimate for that cost, and then it provides for the reimbursement. I mean, it's really fairly straightforward. It is virtually the same agreement that District 26 had. But there was information that was not available to Doug or us or Stephen. We had to get some of those cost estimates and projects, off of the project plans for Maverick. But I think take a look at those exhibits. That shows you the document itself's got a lot of boilerplate in it. The exhibits are going to show you some of the numbers, are going to show you what's going to be built, what's going to be reimbursable, those types of things.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, oh, sorry.
Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, Mark, and currently looking at the document, there are no numbers. Will we have them at some point, or?
The updated version that you got should have numbers in it.
Okay, because what we have online does not, so.
It does not.
That one's got them, okay.
It does not.
Okay.
And let me just say this, just for Mr. Waterman's sake, the draft agenda came out Thursday afternoon. We got an email from Stephen saying, can we get this on the agenda? Doug jumped on that immediately. He said, I have had this with Maverick for some time for review. I can't move forward without them. And that was what then precipitated a flurry of activity where we were trying to move it forward. And so, my apologies, but I do want to be clear that this was information that Mr. Waterman had been waiting on. When Maverick learned that they needed to respond to it, they did, and there was communications with Maverick folks and their attorneys into Friday morning, I think, and we did what we could. So anyway, that's the history of it.
Mr. Doty?
Yeah, and it goes back to the same thing, where this is a great project, but if we keep doing this with all these projects, we just become more and more obligated. And I think it's difficult to approve one, a couple action items up, and then this one comes up, and we go, this one's good, let's approve this one too, and before you know it, there is no money to pay anyone to do whatever needs to be done. So I just think we need to use some caution here of what we're obligating Ray Lynn to find money somewhere with all of these obligations. So I think it's more complex. Not that anyone is any better than the other, and not that anyone is more worthy of the tax money that it'll bring in. It's operating costs that we would be obligating until they produce the tax outcome. So, thank you.
Well, and if I may, excuse me, Commissioner, it's the increment that comes off of their project. So they got to build it, and then that increment traceable to their project is what comes back. So it shouldn't be operating expenses.
It is, but then that money isn't going to help offset the other projects that we approve, right?
Well, or be available as revenue for bonding service,
That's what I'm
debt
saying.
services, all those other things. At that point of it, I get it.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
So, I'm sorry, gosh, I just had a moment here. I know we've got two projects now here that we're tabling for another 30 days. I know the Maverick folks, if you just kind of pay attention to what they put up, they don't waste any time. So I would say if we could come back in 2 weeks, maybe, once we get our information, if we have that. I don't know why we can't have a special session to get this stuff decided, but to put things off for 30 days, working with developers, working with people, I think we should step it up, which, if at all possible, if we have the information.
My understanding is that you've got the complete information now.
Got it.
In what was handed out. My understanding is it's complete.
Yeah.
Now, I'll double check that. If it's not, we'll get it out to you. But yeah, it's more going to be, are the commissioners comfortable that they've had time to review?
Yeah.
That's
So like this amphitheater project, Mark, this project here with the Maverick, all of that increment financing, the sooner that goes online, the sooner that money rolls in, right, Raylan? Yeah, so these projects like the gravel to Chicago and those kind of worries that we have that are legitimate worries about money, I think sooner rather than later for all of this stuff should be considered.
Yeah. Maverick is under construction. Yeah.
It is,
It's
yeah.
under-
Yeah, they're moving fast out there, too.
Mr. Cole?
Well, I mean, we get this document, it's handed to us tonight, but if you're saying it's complete, you're saying, you're recommending a passage of this resolution, right?
That'd be my recommendation when you are comfortable that you've had time to look at it.
Okay. So I don't know why we need 2 weeks. I mean, is there some special way that we could just have, can we do this vote by email
Mis-
or do we have to have?
Mr. Chairman, I can have this reviewed in 2 days. So, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. And if you watch what they're doing out there at the Maverick area, that's, stuff's going up overnight.
Procedurally, you're going to need to do it at a
Yeah,
special meeting.
We need
but
to do a
yeah,
special
so
meeting. Would you have to give notice on that then, too?
We do. I think it's
Okay.
48
What's the
hours
earliest?
for a special meeting. My clerk's nodding. Yeah, 48 hours notice. And then as long as one person is here, you all could participate virtually or by phone even.
Okay. And I would prefer to wrap both of these things that we've tabled into one meeting if we have the time to put things together. I think that would be more helpful, so.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's going to take us some time on that.
On the other?
Well, we're going to have to figure out, barring some additional, lightning bolt that gives us a better creative solution, I think we're going to have to deal with the city on that.
Okay. Very good. All right, so we are tabling this particular matter for hopefully 2 weeks. We'll schedule a special meeting.
Mr. Chairman, another quick question for Stephen.
Yes, sir.
Stephen, in your dealings with TC Development, Ted Caldwell, we could talk to, you could probably talk to him, tomorrow, right? Yeah, so we could get something out of him on his timeline of events once amphitheater closes, and we can have an idea of what's going to go on, right?
Yeah, and Chair, Commissioner Moore, and just to clarify, Commissioner Cole made a comment regarding being present for the meeting, which I completely agree with and validate. Mr. Caldwell was on the call earlier, online on the Teams meeting earlier, had to leave, texted me and said he had to go to some emergency that he had to address, so he had to hop off. But he was on earlier to answer any questions that would come up. He does plan to be involved in this process, I'm sure. I was texting him throughout the meeting. I can certainly connect with him on that topic. Really, it's an alignment of urban renewal and the plan, and the original plan as we slated it, as we created this North Urban Renewal District. There's a road system map that was created, and this Chicago to Gravel connection is in that alignment there.
Yeah.
So just in discussing this with Mr. Caldwell was just going back to the bearings of what we created as a plan and saying, hey, urban renewal, we have it in our plan already, so maybe there's a way we can address that with monetarily to cover that expense. So that's kind of what started the discussion, is we looked at the plans and then saw that there was alignment there.
So in all your dealings with Mr. Caldwell, he moves pretty fast, doesn't he?
He does, and he emphasized to me that he's been out here for a long time, Mr. Moore, and you know that, and he wants to move and he wants to see some progress there.
Thank you.
Mr. Cole?
Well, once again, I don't think we have the information in front of us yet, and so whether it would take 2 weeks or a month, I mean, I would be reluctant to push this forward so quickly, the amphitheater issue, and I have no problem with the resolution that's in front of us now, doing that in a couple of days.
Okay, brings us to action item number 7, to consider invoices for payment. Everybody's best friend, Raylene.
Good evening, Commissioners. So I have 3 invoices for payment. $18,900 for the June Economic Development contributions, $6,800 for the May attorney services, and $3,000 for the Lee Jinky site feasibility study. Total of $28,700.
Very good. Any questions for Raylene? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Raylene, thank you for recommending LJ Wade. Gosh, I think you said that we could get that report done for $5,000, and I said no, it's probably 10, and you got it done for 3, so good thinking. Thank you.
Ms. Warwick?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report and pay the bills.
We have a motion by Ms. Warwick. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Doty. Would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Takes us to our treasurer report.
So, as you can see, we have just over $4 million between the LGIP and the Banner Bank. In May, we had very little tax increment come in, $10.91 from the north area and $183 from the east area in past due amounts. It's pretty common to see increment funding get paid earlier in the year and small amounts in the month because we just don't have as much in the north area. Both interest on the LGIP and the Banner Bank is still over $3,000, so that is good. And I'll stand
Okay,
for
any
your
questions in regard to the cash reconciliation report? Do we have a motion in regard to the report?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doty?
I'll make a motion to approve the cash reconciliation report.
We have a motion by Mr. Doty. We have a second. Second by Ms. Warwick. Secretary, call the roll.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
And now our project list.
So I realized I sent the wrong north area projects. I did update it, but it must not have saved. So if you will, that is not the most current one, but I will tell you that District 26 I did send them a letter verifying all the invoices I did receive from them, which is a total of about $398,000. And let them know that once the ordinance was published and finalized for their annexation, we could start reimbursement. And so next month, you should see a reimbursement of the taxes that have been paid on their specific parcels, minus the admin portion will be sent to them or requested for payment. So I apologize for the north report. I will make sure it's updated next month. And for the east area, there's not been very much change just due to timing of projects, and if they get coded to the city, such as the USTIC project, we only ask for those reimbursements quarterly. And just as a reminder, the budget workshop is next month, I believe, so if I recall.
Any questions for Raylene? Julie?
Oh, no, sir.
Chris? Any questions?
Oh, no,
Okay.
sorry.
All right, no worries, no worries. How is the downtown signage project going? Are they still kind of trickling in certain things?
Yeah,
or-
so the specific wayfinding signage is complete, but we are working with Danae and Robin in community development to make sure that there's still additional signage when it comes to parking, when it comes to clarification of downtown and finding things. So, and then also some bigger gateway signs. So there is some of those that we're working on. They haven't been ordered yet, but they are in the process. So hopefully we can spend the rest of those funds. So.
All right, thank you,
Mr.
Raylene.
Chair,
Oh,
I do have one question. So this $195,000 we improved for the downtown Caldwell Alley Electrical, that is project number 18, is that right?
18 and
18,
19 is
19.
kind of a combination of both of those, yeah.
Okay, all righty, thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to our economic development reports. Mr. Jenkins?
All right, Chairman, Commissioners, thank you so much for having me, as always. I have just a few things to note as it relates to the North Caldwell Urban Renewal area. As I typically do, I'd like to start off there. So first things first, and just to reiterate, Maverick is under construction. They broke ground on the project about a week ago, and as Commissioner Moore stated, they do not play around. They're moving fast out there. It looks great. I do foresee it as a catalyst project of sorts, which I'm excited for, and look forward to seeing what that's going to do for the area as a whole. We couldn't be happier with the partnership we have with Maverick. They hope to be open by the end of the year. They have that on their calendar to do so, and I think they'll get there. WeatherTight Roofing is still waiting to proceed with plans. They're in need of water infrastructure, as I've reported previously. Their site is located on I-84 and Chicago Street. And then the Kelly property, they recently obtained a city touch. They're looking forward to annexing into the city as well. They are designing their project, decided to see progress for future industrial for their 35-acre site there. This is Project Metal, a new project for us. They're a local company looking to expand in North Caldwell. They're looking to build a 40,000 square foot facility. These projects are crucial for us as expansion projects in the city. When we have a Caldwell business looking to grow into something like this, it's really exciting for us. They plan to add some more employees as well. They're in the process of verifying that the necessary infrastructure is in place to allow them to proceed with that expansion. So as I mentioned previously, we've been talking intently with Intermountain Gas and Idaho Power and others to just make sure that those things are in place. And then overall, we've been receiving, Ophelia and I have been receiving a lot of RFI requests. This is requests for information from the Department of Commerce and Boise Valley Economic Partnerships. We've been promoting North Caldwell sites within those searches, and infrastructure remains a challenge, but we remain optimistic because it's encouraging to see all the progress and all the interest that we're starting to gain in as far as the North Caldwell area is concerned. And awesome, thank you, Elijah, for pulling this up. I'm going to get into this really quickly, but just as I wrap up with the north area, I just want to say catalyst projects are critical, and I had a chance to visit the Rice House with Caldwell Housing Authority today. Just as a side note here, I know Mr. Dittenberg's in the audience, but I do see that as a catalyst project for the north area. It looks fantastic, even in the state that it's in today. I just cannot wait for that project to be completed, and you guys contributed to that. And I'm just very pleased that we had a role to play in that process, just walking through that house and seeing the history there and the windows and all the concrete going in. I mean, it looks fantastic. So couldn't be happier with the progress we made out there. All right, additional updates. So inflation is right about 2.3%. As of May 2025, this is according to CNBC. As you all recall, we hit 9.1% in June of 22, so we're significantly down from that mark. So that's really good news, and inflation being steady. It's not at the Fed's target rate of 2%, but we're getting closer, obviously, as we're incrementally getting to that point. There was a jobs report that came out. There's 139,000 jobs that were added to the U.S. market in May. Unemployment is hanging out around 4.2%. And just so you guys know, just the Boise Valley Economic Partnership, BVEP, they participated in a Best Practices Summit in Chicago, and they came back with collective information around some of the concerns around the market and the economy as a whole, things that are facing other economic development agencies such as BVEP. Number one was tariffs, number two was workforce concerns, and number three is power. So that is certainly things that are consistent with what we've been seeing as well locally as it relates to some of those concerns. All right, so here's the image that is shown here. I'll jump right into this since we have it up, but daycare costs by state. And why does this matter? Really, it matters because as we talk about workforce being a top concern for economic development offices around the country, daycare considerations are very much part of that equation. And Idaho, we're fortunate, apparently, having lower costs than other states that are out there. Although I could tell you locally, it does not seem that way, but I guess it reflected that way in the numbers here. So that gives us a slight advantage, I suppose, as we move on. But this gives you a little bit of a collective impact as it relates to daycare. And then moving on here, you all probably saw the article from the U.S. Census Bureau population showing that Caldwell was 51st place with 21.5% population growth, and that was among the highest in the state. Of course, we had 54th was Cuna, 70th Post Falls, 71st Meridian, and then 91st was Nampa. So excited to see those numbers, and you all feel it here, I'm sure, locally as you drive and you see construction taking place across the city. But it was nice to see this reflected more tangibly. This is from 2020 to 2024, and this is, again, according to the Idaho Department of Labor announced it, but it was according to census numbers. And then moving forward, there was another chart on cities and towns with largest population gains. You guys can see Idaho there, and specifically the Southwest Idaho region, which has been a hotspot for growth in our market as well as our GDP in the state. And then moving on, just real quick so I can breeze through this, the U.S. debt burden heads toward uncharted territory. Ultimately, we are reaching a level of debt, and this is debt compared to the GDP ratio. So this is approximately, in 2025, we're at approximately 123% And that is the total debt exceeded the GDP by that percentage. That's ultimately what that means. So that chart just reflects this information there. And then just scrolling down there, you guys can see a slight dip, and this is according to Redfin, their home price index. And this gives you an understanding of values. We've seen a slight reduction nationally. It's at 0.05%, so not very much, but it was the first time we've seen that since 2023, and that kind of decline. And then moving on, the U.S. first home buyers are older than ever. If you all recall from my previous presentations and whatnot, our average age in Caldwell is about 30. First-time home buyers are incrementally getting up to 38, which is not what we saw years ago, of course. And that's the highest since data collection began in 1981. So gives you an idea. And then the last slide I have up here, just because I like these images and whatnot. Oh, maybe I didn't include it. I do have it in front of me, though. So I have a map that shows the median household income recommended for buying a 3-bedroom home. In the state of Idaho, it's $163,000. So we are regionally pretty close to the other states around us. Actually, we're a little bit higher than Oregon, which is rather new for us. So gives you, Oregon's about $158,000 for the median household income, again, recommended for buying a 3-bedroom home. And with that, that's all I have to report. Hopefully you, thank you for pleasuring me with that, allowing me to share that information that I keep in my brain, so I appreciate that. But happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions for Stephen? Very good, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Ophelia?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. We'll make this pretty quick this afternoon or this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and start with URA downtown properties. There are really no updates there. As you have heard from all the current projects that we have going on, we just have those 2 dirt lots. That's 516, and then the other lot off of Kimball and Arthur. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on to general downtown updates. We do have 2 existing businesses in our downtown that are expanding. So it's just really exciting that they're expanding into their adjacent space. They haven't announced yet this via social media yet, but if you walk through our downtown and if you talk to our business owners, they'll let you know who they are. So we're excited to post some pictures of those spaces once they give us permission. 712 Main Street, there's a new business coming in. If you haven't been through there yet, through that space, that was the former space for MCO. So there's a new tenant that's coming in. Again, we're waiting to make the announcements. They want to have more of their furniture in before we announce who they are, but we're really excited for them to take over that space. If you walk through the downtown again, Griddle, Bubbly Facial Bar, Nara, they're all moving along. Peek in there and you'll see all the updates that they're doing to those spaces. Farm to Fork, that just, it's been about a month or so that's been moving forward. Lots of attendance. I attended last Tuesday. I had the pleasure of working at one of the retail shops, so occasionally I like to get my hands into what some of the businesses are doing, and so they allowed for me to be a customer service rep that day, and I was able to visit with the people that were here to enjoy the music and the farmers market. I will tell you that I had a lot of conversations from people that were from Ada County. I also had conversations from people that were visiting from the state of Texas. So lots of people coming through the plaza when there's those events. So it's always exciting to see that. NBC, if you keep track of the news, NBC National, they had an article on Amano. So Amano continues to take spotlight on the national stage, so we're super excited about them. Flying M also recently celebrated their 7-year anniversary, so we're super excited for them to continue to operate in our community. They shared with me at least that they have no intentions of going anywhere. They plan to be here forever. So with that, I have nothing else to share with you tonight.
Very good, thanks. Looks like one of our last items of business is our attorney report. Next steps on potential central Caldwell project area. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is maybe this month just kind of a placeholder. You're obviously aware of ArchNexus beginning their work. I'm glad that is underway, and that conversation with Roger Brooks. We're hopeful that the exact footprint would start to take shape here relatively soon, and then we could start some of the formal processing of that area. But the fact that we've got the feasibility study folks on board is going to be super helpful. So anyway, but that I think is all I have for tonight.
Very good. Any other questions for Mark? Great, thank you, Mark. Okay, any commissioner reports? Mr. Doty?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I would just say I've also visited the Rice House several times, and I think you just saw the report from Mr. Jenkins. I think it's going to be a great asset, especially with our first responder community, to get them to live in our community and be a part of our community and, get going, because a lot of them aren't 38 when they start, 36, so I think it's going to be definitely a benefit to our community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Warwick? Mr. Cole? Mr. Allgood?
Just had something quick here. I just wanted to talk about our projects out in the north area and our discussion about the amphitheater coming in. As we go through this stuff, I'm 100% in support of the amphitheater coming in, of that area developing. My big question mark is having a clear path about how we pay for it. And I am still not clear there. And so as we move forward, any help from Ray Lynn, Mr. Hilty, about what mechanism we can put into place to pay for it, because the projects do need to happen. I just need to know from my point that we can support the promises we make, and I'm not clear on that yet. So any information that would help us get a clear view of how we can make those things move forward would be helpful.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, I would second what Councilman Allgood just said. I think we need a clear path of how things will get paid for. I'm working off a little bit of a biased opinion of just seeing that area for the past 50 years of my life and how it's set there. And TC Development was the first one that came in 11 years ago. And if he says he's going to do something, he usually does it, or he's already did it. And he has a means to do that. So he's developed quite a bit out there. He's spent a lot of money in cleanup that I know of in that area of Russian olives that are probably in excess of a couple $1 million. So I would hope that we would be able to get behind it and see this thing, put it into motion so that the increment could come in at some point. The Rice House, yeah, I've been invited to go. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get over there, but I want to see it. I go by it every day. So it's going to be a real nice addition to that corner as everybody turns and comes down to Indian Creek area. I think it's going to be a great addition. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Good words, you guys. Looking at the north area, we are so, how do I want to say this? We got a little bit of naivete working in our favor because the east area was so good for so long and generated so much money, and the entire infrastructure of North Ranch was pretty much borne by us, and now we're on the other end of things, seeing how the sausage is being made, and so these are some of the good discussions that we have to have as we grow as a commission and understand our roles a little better. Second thing, at the last council meeting, we were able to reappoint a couple of members of the commission, Julie and Dave. Thank you so much for your service here. I know it's an unpaid position, and I know that you give it a lot of time and effort and energy, and I just want to let you know that the community appreciates your intellect in the way that you ask the right question at the right time. We appreciate you both, and it's a joy to serve with you. So with that, we will bring this meeting to a close and send everybody home. We're adjourned.